Good morning to all the students. In today's class, we will discuss the quicksort algorithm. The quicksort algorithm is a very quickest algorithm as per the content we have in our textbook. And before discussing the actual quicksort algorithm, we should also discuss one more concept which is called as divide and conquer strategy. Why? Because the quicksort algorithm depends on one algorithmic strategy which is called as divide and conquer. Right. So it is one algorithmic strategy. We have different algorithmic strategies which you will be studying in the design and analysis of algorithm subject, which you will come across in the coming semesters. Right. So in today's class, before discussing this quicksort, we will discuss this divide and conquer strategy, which is a very simple strategy. And along with this quicksort, the midsort algorithm, which we are going to discuss in the next class, also depends on this strategy. That is the reason why we need to know what this divide and conquer strategy. So going back to the history of this divide and conquer strategy. So it is a strategy. It is a political strategy. Actually, it is a political strategy which was implemented by ancient Roman politicians. And whenever there is a revolution from the group of people, what these politicians will do is they will divide that large group into smaller groups, right? And they try to manipulate or they try to conquer each and every smaller group, and finally they will conquer the entire group of people. This is the political strategy that the politicians will follow whenever they have some unforeseen situations or some revolution that come from the people, right? So, but looking at this particular strategy, the divide and conquer strategy, the the scientists or the developers, the researchers of this computer science world, what they have thought is this is a very good strategy where we can also implement it for the algorithm. Right. This is how the strategy has been incorporated to the computer science world. Right. So whenever we have a larger task, that large task is divided into smaller tasks. Right. You can divide it into any number of subtasks, and again the subtasks can again be divided into number of subtasks. Right. So this particular subdivision will be based upon your logic, or until unless you cannot divide the smallest subtask into further more divisions. So you continue the division of a given task into subtasks. Again, the subtasks are divided into again more subtasks. Like that, you keep on dividing the subtasks until unless you come across a situation where you cannot further divide the subtask. Right. So this has to be done. Right. After dividing the larger task into subtasks and subtasks like that, what you will do is you will start finding out the solution for the least subtask, right? Smallest subtask. You find the solution for the smallest subtask, and then you start combining the solutions of the smallest subtask so that you will get a solution for the larger task, right? So it involves three different steps. One is divide. That means you divide the given problem, or you divide the larger problem into smaller number of pieces, and then you conquer. So you solve each and every smaller piece by applying the divide and conquer recursively to it, right? So you find the solution for each and every subtask recursively, and finally, in order to get the solution for the larger task, you just combine the solutions of the smaller pieces. Thereby, you get the solution for the larger. Right. So this is how the divide and conquer strategy works. You divide the larger task into smaller pieces, and then you get the solution for the smaller pieces, and finally you combine the solutions of these smaller pieces to get the solution for the larger piece. So that is how we need to design, or we need to make use of this divide and conquer strategy to find the solution for the larger task. Right. So if you elaborate the divide and conquer strategy, you take a problem on a larger input, break the input into smaller pieces, solve the problem on each of the smaller pieces, then combine the piecewise solutions to get a global solution, right? And this particular point tells you at what point you have to stop the division. This we have already discussed, right? So you keep on dividing the larger task into smaller tasks until further breaking is not possible. Until further breaking is not possible. That means you get an atomic subfunction such that you cannot divide it into further subsets. Right? This is the strategy that is followed by the quicksort algorithm and the metsort algorithm. Right. So coming to the conclusion, divide and conquer algorithms are typically recursive in nature. Right. So whenever you have an algorithm to be implemented and you have decided that you are going to implement the divide and conquer strategy. So in such situations, it is better you go for a solution which is recursive in nature. Why? Because as a recursive means it is something similar to that of a looping, or it is something where you have to repeat the things, right? So repetition can be done in C programming, using two things. One is the looping constructs. One is by making use of loops, and the second one is by making use of recursion. Both of them are used for repetition only, right? So whenever you think of giving a solution for a particular problem using divide and conquer strategy, it is better you choose the recursive method, right? And simple and very efficient algorithm for sorting a list of numbers, right? Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Why we are going for the recursive method? Why we are going for the recursive method in divide and conquer? Anybody please answer?
Breakdown, sir, because you have to repeat the same process on.
Yes, you have to repeat the same set of steps. That means you have to break down, or you have to divide the large task into subtasks, and the process of division should be repeated. So for the division and for conquering and combining also, you have to repeat the thing. So whenever you have repetition, you can go for either for the loops or recursion, right? And here in case of this divide and conquer strategy, it is better you go for the recursion, right? Now let us take we'll go for the discussion of the actual quicksort. Can you see the screen, quicksort?
Yes, sir.
Quicksort is the most widely used than any other sort. The reason for this is, as I told, that the name itself is giving an idea that it is going to perform, or it is going to sort the elements in the quickest manner, right? So that is the reason why we make use of this quicksort in most of the scenarios, right? And it is not that much difficult to implement, but actually this point contradicts, right? So we have a lot of things to discuss in the quicksort, implement in quicksort, and the programming logic is not that easy when such as bubble sort, selection sort, and insertion, right? The logic itself is somewhat complex, right? But once you understand the concept how to implement this quicksort, it will be very easy to implement, as well as it will take very less time to sort the thing, right? So it works well for a variety of data. That means this quicksort can be implemented on a list of integers, or they can be implemented on a list of floating point numbers, or they can be implemented on a list of strings, or on a list of characters. Any data you take, you can apply this quicksort on the variety of data, right? Similarly, it consumes fewer resources than other sorting in nearly all situations. So this is one of the main advantage of this quicksort. It uses, or it consumes very less resources. Can anybody tell me what are all the resources that the that an algorithm makes use of it? Any guess on any wild guess?
Time
What
and
is-
space.
Time
Time
and
and
space,
space.
right? Other than that, it is also going to use the CPU, right? Processor. Other than that, it is going to use some buses which you have come across in the computer organization. Like that, it makes use of some hardware resources also, right? But the quicksort algorithm consumes very fewer resources than any other sorting algorithm, right? And the quicksort algorithm works with big O of n log n time. Big O of n log n time, right? In the previous discussions, when I am discussing about the binary search, I told that the binary search in binary search, the logic is you find the middle element, you compare the search element with the middle element. If it is not equal, then either you have to go and search it in the left hand side of the array or in the right hand side of the array. Right. So whenever you divide the thing, then the complexity will go around like this log n, right? Here also, since we are going to divide the given quicksort given list of elements into subtasks, that means you will divide it into two equal halves. So when you divide the given list of elements into two equal halves, we will get a complexity which is almost equal to that of log n. So you can simply remember that it is big O of n log n time, right? Similarly, it requires big O of log n additional space due to recursion. Why do we require more space for while we are using this recursion method? I told you clearly in the recursion, there are a lot of function calls that are involved. Recursion is a mechanism where a function calls itself. So whenever a function is calling another function or whenever a function is calling itself, there are a lot of stack memory that is being used. Why? Because when we have a function call, before the control jumps to the calling function or called function, what happens here is all the calculations or all the results that have been calculated up to that particular point will back, and when the control returns back, the contents will be again popped, right? So all this involves a lot of overhead, right? While discussing the concept of recursion also, I told that recursion involves a lot of overhead, right? So whenever you have a choice between whenever you have a task of repetition, and whenever you have a choice of whether you want to go with the loops or whether you want to go with the recursion, always choose a looping constraint, right? Why? Because there is no overhead involved in the looping constructs. We have a lot of overhead involved in the recursion. Why? Because it involves a lot of function calls. Whenever there is a function call, you need to store the contents or push the contents, jump to the task, return back, and then again pop all the contents. All this is the overhead involved in function, right? So it requires big O of log n additional space due to recursion. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir.
Now, as I told that the quicksort makes use of the divide and conquer strategy. If anybody asks you what this divide and conquer means, you can say that it is a algorithmic strategy. There are different strategies that are followed by the algorithms. One of the most popular algorithmic strategies is divide and conquer, right? And listen carefully. Again, before going into the actual algorithm of the quicksort, we should know one important point in the quicksort, which is called as pivot element. Listen carefully, very important point, which is called as pivot element. We should know what this pivot is. We should know what happens, why we require this pivot. We should know what happens when pivot is placed in the correct place. All these things you should know. So pivot is a very important concept in the quicksort algorithm, where the importance of pivot element is the entire performance of the algorithm, quicksort algorithm, depends upon the selection of the pivot element. Is it clear? Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. So the pivot, the pivot element is very important in implementing the quicksort. Why? Because the selection of pivot element itself decides the performance of the quicksort algorithm. Right. So that is the priority, that is the importance we have for the pivot element in the quicksort. Right. So quicksort algorithm requires choosing a pivot value. Pivot element is nothing but what are the things we take for a sorting? What is the first step? You declare an array, right? Second one, you take the size of the array from the user. And third one is you take the inputs or a list of elements from the user and you store it in the array. So for any sorting algorithm, you should have a list of elements that are stored inside the array. Out of all these elements which we have taken from the user, one element is considered as the pivot element. One element is considered as, we will name one element as pivot element. That's it, nothing more than that. Right? But what element should be selected as pivot? Why we should select this pivot? All these things we will discuss. Right? So remember that a pivot element is nothing but an element that is selected from the given list of elements. Simple. Right? And pivot value divides big and small numbers. This I will tell you how it is going to divide, right? Right. And each implementation of quicksort has its own method of choosing the pivot value. We have different methods to choose a pivot value. For example, somebody may choose a method that whatever elements we have, sir, I will choose the first element as the pivot element. Yes, you can choose the first element as the pivot. Nothing wrong there. Or somebody may tell that, sir, I am going to choose the last element as the pivot. Yes, you are free to choose that pivot element. And somebody will say that, sir, I will find the middle element and I will take the middle element as the pivot. Yes, you can take it. Right. And somebody will say that, sir, I will take the median. We'll see what median is. Right. I'll take the median of 3 numbers from the given list. Right. So what are these 3 numbers? Sir, I will take the first element and I will take the middle element and I will take the last element, and then I find the median of these 3 elements, and then I will take that element as the pivot element. Like that, there is no there are a lot of strategies to select the pivot element, right? But remember that while choosing the pivot element, after making some manipulations or after executing some instructions using the quicksort algorithm, you should place the pivot element, and whatever pivot element you have chosen should be placed. That means whatever pivot element you have chosen should divide the given list of elements into 2 equal parts, 2 almost equal parts. Right? Don't worry. When you go for an example, then it will be very clear. So, but at this particular point of time, you just remember that there are a lot of strategies to select a pivot element. One thing is you can choose the first element. Another thing is you can choose the middle element. Next, you can choose the last element, or you can take the median of 3 numbers. Or somebody will say that, sir, I will take the median of all the numbers. Yes, you can take it, right? So there are different strategies, but whatever strategy you take, you should be very cautious that the selection of pivot element should exactly or almost equally should divide the given list of elements into almost 2 equal halves. This is what a pivot element should do. So you should choose a pivot element in such a way, right? So once the pivot has been selected, right? Once the pivot has been selected, I said that after making some operations or after executing some instructions, you have to place the pivot is to be moved into some location, right? For example, assume that I have taken the last element as the pivot. So after executing the quicksort algorithm, the pivot has been moved to exactly half or exactly middle part. Right. So what happens here is when you place the pivot element in the middle of the array, all the elements towards the left hand side of the pivot this way are less than the pivot, and all the elements towards the right hand side are greater than the pivot. This is what you should learn. Right. So left part of the pivot is lesser element and the right part of the pivot will be greater element. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So again, so after positioning the pivot element in the correct place, I told that the list of elements is divided into two parts, right? One is the left part and another one is the right part. And I told that the left part of the sub array is always less than the pivot, and the right part of the sub array is always greater than the pivot, right? So again, what you will do? Again, we apply the quick sort for the left part, and you apply the quick sort for the right part. That means it is nothing but repetition. So whenever you want to repeat the things, either you go for looping or you go for recursion. But as I told that, it is better you choose the recursive method for implementing the quick sort, right? So each and every sub array is again applied the quick sort algorithm, right? We'll see all these things, right? Listen carefully. This is important point. Ideally, the pivot would be selected such that it was smaller about half of the elements and larger than half of the elements. As I told that the selection of pivot influences has a lot of effect on the performance of the quicksort algorithm. So you should choose a pivot such a way that it always divides the given list of elements into two equal halves, right? So if you select such element, then you say that the selection of pivot is done in a good manner. What happens, sir? What happens when I don't select the pivot? When I don't select a correct pivot, what happens is the pivot will be placed somewhere else here. For example, let me clear this. So assume that the pivot has been, after making some manipulations, assume that the pivot has been placed as the second element here in this location. So what happens to the left hand part? How many elements are there in the left hand side of pivot?
One
Element? Only one element. How many elements towards its right hand side?
four.
Four.
4. Therefore, this pivot is not dividing the given list of elements into two equal halves, right? So this is not a best choice of the pivot. But once you choose the pivot, you have to continue it, whether you get the best results or whatever it may be, but you should continue it, right? So this is the importance of pivot, right? So have you understood the difference between a good pivot value and a bad pivot value? A good pivot value always divides the given list of elements into two almost equal halves. But a bad choice of the pivot divides the given list of elements into two unequal parts. Exactly equal ga ravaలని ledamma. There is no need that the pivot always divides the given list of elements into two exact halves, almost equal ga undali, right? So that is the difference between a choice of good pivot and a bad pivot. And the last point is very important. As I told that the selection of pivot always affects the performance of the quicksort, right? So you select a good pivot value, you will have a good efficient quicksort algorithm. So that is the importance of this particular pivot element. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these are the methods. Now we will go and discuss the various methods of choosing the pivot value. Right. Choosing a pivot value is an essential step, as I told in the earlier discussion also. And depending upon the pivot, the algorithm may run fast or in quadratic time. Right. So whether you want to make a quicksort algorithm which can run very fast or which can run very slowly, it depends on choosing the pivot. Right. So we have different methods for choosing, right? The first method is some fixed element. So out of the list of elements, I have n list of elements. So out of all these elements, either you can choose a fixed element, either you can choose the first element, or you can choose the third element, or you can choose the fifth element, or you can choose the sixth element. It is your choice that you select one element from the given list as the pivot element, right? No restrictions on this. So you take the first one, you take the last one, and you take the middle. Right? Like that you can take, right? But this is a very bad choice. So why? How can you say that this is a bad choice, sir? Right? It is not always a bad choice in all the situations, right? Sometimes, but in most of the cases, when you select a fixed element as the pivot element, you will get the bad result. That means you will end up in writing an inefficient quicksort algorithm, right? And the second method which I am going to discuss is randomly chosen. This time you are going to choose a random number, not manually, but by making use of a method called random generator. But this is also a bad choice. And the third method is median of the array. So what do you mean by median of the array? Means whatever list of elements you are given. For example, we'll say an example. So these are the list of elements we have: 3, 13, 7, 5, 21, 23, 39, 23, like that. We have n number of elements. Right? So if I want to find the median of these n numbers, what I have to do is, first I have to arrange the given list of elements in the sorted order. Right? Listen carefully. So whenever you want to find the median of n elements, assume that I have 26, 32, 12, 9, 6, 5 elements, and again 78, 6 elements. Now if I want to find the median of all these elements, what I have to do is, first of all, I have to arrange the list of elements in the ascending order: 12, 26, 32, and 78. So I have to take the middle element as the median of the given list of elements. This is how you calculate the median of a list of elements. But is it suggestible to make use of this median? Does it appear as if it is a complex thing or not? Your problem is, listen carefully, your problem is to sort a given list of elements. Right? This one, 26, 32, 12, 9, 6, and 7. And you have to give some instructions to the computer so that it will give the output as the list of elements. But in order to implement this sorting algorithm, quicksort algorithm, you have to select a pivot. In order to select a pivot, you have chosen the median method of all the elements. So to find the median, you have to arrange the given list of elements in the ascending order. We try to make these elements in the ascending order, and then you take the pivot, and then you implement quicksort. Right? Your task is directly to sort the list of elements. So again, for selecting the pivot, it is a very complex thing that you always arrange the things in the sorting order, and then you take the median. Right? So this is also not suggestible, but this gives best result. So the median is nothing but the middle of a sorted list of numbers. That is the actual definition of the median. Right? So whenever you have some n number of elements, when you want to find the median of those n elements, first of all you have to arrange them in the ascending order or descending order, and then you take the middle part. Right? So what about the median of 12, 3 and 5? Anybody?
5.
It is 5. Why?
5,
Because
sir.
you arrange the things in ascending order 3, 5 and 12 and you take the middle element. That is called the median of 3 numbers. Right. So the median, taking the median of the given list of elements as the pivot for the quicksort element, quicksort algorithm is the best choice. But median of 3 numbers is somewhat simpler when compared to that of median of the entire array. Right. So it increases the complexity when you select the median of the array as the selection criteria for pivot element. It increases the complexity, right? And the best choice is last one, which is the median of 3. What are these 3 elements? What are these 3 elements? As I told that it will be the first element, and it is you take the middle element and you take the last element from the given list of elements. You have n number of elements and you take the first element, middle element and last element, and then you arrange them in the sorted order, and then you take the middle, which is nothing but the median of 3, right? So people say that this particular method is, that is the median of 3 elements, which is the first, middle and last, is the best choice for the selection of pivot, right? But don't worry, and again I'm saying that this particular strategy is not always best in all the cases. Is best in all the cases, right? So it depends. It depends on the input which you have taken. It depends on the input which you have taken, right? But most frequently or most popularly, people say that the median of 3 elements is the best choice for selecting the pivot. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the basic idea behind quicksort. Very important. If you have any pen and paper, you just note it down, or you can take a screenshot of this. Tomorrow also we'll discuss this quicksort algorithm with an example. Before that, let me end up this session with what is the basic idea behind the quicksort. Right. So the first step in the quicksort is you have to pick an element. You have to select an element from the given list of elements that you are going to sort, and we call that element as the pivot element. And we call that element as the pivot element. Right. And after selecting the pivot, you have to extend that pivot element. You have to extend that pivot element with the rightmost element in the table or the leftmost element. So what is step 2 here? What is step 1?
Selecting pivot.
Selecting the pivot element.
Selecting a pivot element. What is step 2?
Exchange pivot element.
Exchange the pivot with the rightmost element of the list or the leftmost element of the list, right? And this is optional. This is optional. For example, why this is optional means, for example, I have a list of elements. I have a list of elements. And one of the method for choosing the pivot is either you can select the first element or last element. Is it right or not? So if I select the first element as my pivot element, so there is no need to exchange, and you consider this as pivot. There is no need to exchange this element with either end, right? The task of this second step, or the important point in this second step is you just throw that pivot through one end of the array. That's it. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So you have to throw the pivot element through one end of the array, either it is the leftmost end or it is the rightmost end. But if you have selected the pivot element as the leftmost element or the rightmost element, do we need to perform step 2?
No, no, sir.
No, that is the reason why I'm saying that this is optional. Right? But selection of pivot is first step. You throwing the pivot element to one end of the array is the second step, and from third point onwards, this is very important. This is actually the quicksort algorithm where we need to implement. So we have to take 2 pointers. Here I am giving it as go throughs. I am taking it as go throughs, but you can also call them as pointers. You can also call them as pointers. So you have to take 2 pointers. 2 pointers that point to the left and right elements. That points to the left and right elements, right ends. Right. And what you have to do is, after taking the left and assume that this is left and this is right. What about the first element? Here in this example, what about the first element?
Pivot element.
It is the pivot element. So leaving beside this pivot element, you have to select 2 pointers, left and right, such that the left is pointing to the leftmost element other than pivot, and the right is pointing to the rightmost element. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So after taking 2 pointers and pointing them to the leftmost and the rightmost elements, what you have to do is you have to make a comparison operation. Listen carefully. You have to make a comparison operation. What elements you have to compare means you have to compare the element that is pointed by the left pointer and the element that is pointed by the right pointer with pivot. Right. Every comparison should always be done with the pivot. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you have to compare the left element with the pivot, and you have to compare the right element with the pivot. After comparison, what you have to do means you have to check whether the element that is pointed by the left pointer is less than the pivot or not. What is that one you have to compare? You have to check whether the left pointer is pointing to an element that is less than the pivot. If it is less than the pivot value, you just increment the left pointer such that it points to next element. Right? If it is less than, you just increment the left pointer. So this process should be repeated until you get an element which is greater than the pivot. Right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So once you find an element which is greater than the pivot element, you have to stop it. And then you go for the right pointer. You go for the right pointer. And you compare the element pointed by the right pointer with the pivot. If it is greater, if the element pointed by right pointer is greater than the pivot, you decrement the right pointer such that it points to the next location. Like this. And this process of decrementing the right pointer should be repeated unless you find an element less than pivot. For the left pointer, it should be greater than pivot, and for the right pointer, it should be less than pivot. So if you come across a situation where you find an element that is less than the pivot by the left pointer and an element which is greater than the pivot in the right pointer, which is smaller than the pivot in the right pointer, you have to exchange the left and right elements. Right? You have to exchange the elements which are pointed by left and right. Is it clear up to this point?
Yes, sir. Sir, max class ఉంది sir.
Okay, 2 minutes. Anna. Okay. So at one point of time, what happens is these 2 pointers cross each other. That means the left pointer will cross the right pointer. Right. At that situation, what you have to do is you have to exchange the element which is pointed by the left pointer with the pivot or the right pointer with the pivot. It depends on the logic. Right. So this is how you have to do it. So once the pointers cross each other, you have to exchange the pivot with the element that is pointed by left. For example, assume that the pivot has been exchanged at this position. Right. Now you can observe that the elements towards its left hand side of the pivot is less than the pivot, and the elements towards its right hand side is greater than the pivot. Now what you have to do is you have to recursively apply the quick sort to the left hand subarray and again apply the quick sort separately to the right subarray. Right. This process should be continued until all the elements get sorted. So this is the algorithm behind the quick sort, and this is the basic idea behind the quick sort. And in tomorrow's class, we will discuss the same algorithm, or we will implement the quick sort algorithm using an example. Right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Anandal. You can leave the session. Let me take
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.